I discovered the importance of training to failure a long time ago. A long time ago, like over 16 months ago probably. But it's only very recently that I actually started, that I actually noticed, and I actually consider myself as someone who's actually trained to failure, who actually has that skill of training to failure, of taking every single step to failure. Even though I knew about it 16 months ago, I actually tried to start training to failure a long time ago. So training to failure is a skill. It is something you can improve on. And in the past, I used to be very bad at it, even though I thought I was training to failure. 1 year ago, I thought I was training to failure. I wasn't. Just gonna tell you, I wasn't. But I was so sure that I was training to failure. Even 5 months ago, I thought I was training to failure. I wasn't really. On some certain exercises, I was, but on others, I wasn't. So in this video, I just want to quickly help you to actually know if you are training to failure or not. So the first indicator, and probably the most important one, your concentric should slow down as you get closer to failure. So concentric is basically the speed at which you move the weight up. So concentric is just coming back up on push-up, or bringing the weight up on bicep curls, or pulling yourself up on pull-ups, or pulling the weight towards your belly on bent over rows. That's the concentric. And as you get closer to failure, and if you're using good rep and not using body English, your concentric should slow down. So on bicep curl yesterday I had a pull workout. On the last set of bicep curls, for example, or chin-ups, the last rep on chin-ups, it took me so long to pull myself up. It took me a few seconds, a long time, and it was super, super, super difficult. And the concentric on the last rep of chin-ups was a lot slower when compared to the concentric of the first rep of chin-ups. So drastically slow down. So when you train to failure, your concentric should get slower. It varies on certain exercises, it isn't the same. Failure looks different on different exercises. For example, yesterday the second exercise I did was rows. So the first exercise I did chin-ups. Second exercise I did rows, like bent over barbell rows. And that exercise, I still went to failure, but my concentric wasn't even close to being as slow as my concentric on chin-ups and the other exercise I performed yesterday. And even shrugs. So rows and shrugs were two exercises with a concentric on the last rep was slower, but it wasn't as slow as the concentric on the other exercise I performed yesterday. On rows, yeah, it was slow, but it wasn't so crazily, like, it wasn't a crazy grind on the last rep. And I watched some videos of some people taking bend over rows to failure and noticed the same thing. It got slower, the concentric got slower, but it wasn't so slow. It wasn't super slow like on chin-ups or barbell curls or dips. Those exercises, yeah, gets fucking slow on the last few reps. But on rows, on bent over rows especially, it isn't super slow. Like on chest supported or machine rows, yeah, it's a little bit different. But barbell bent over rows, the concentric isn't, on the last few reps, isn't particularly slow. So failure looks different on different exercises. On certain exercises, it would be super difficult, especially like big compounds exercises. Like, for example, for me, the most difficult exercise I do are weighted dips, weighted chin-ups, and zombie squats. Those are the most difficult exercises I perform every single week. And those are also the the big compounds in my training. And those are always the exercises I do first in my training. I always start my push workouts with weighted dips. I always start my pull workouts with weighted chin-ups. And I always start my leg workouts with zombie squats. Because I know those exercises are super difficult and grueling to take to failure. Yesterday, chin-ups to failure was difficult. It was super difficult. 2 days ago, dips, weighted dips with a deep stretch to failure was super difficult. It was super painful. The last rep was like, took me 10 seconds to complete. It slowed down so much. But then there are other exercises where going to failure isn't super difficult. Like rows, like I said. Taking rows to failure isn't like barbell bent over rows, isn't the most difficult thing on earth. Like it is still pretty difficult. But compared to dips or chin ups or zombie squats, it is pretty easy compared to that. Or another exercise, let me take another example of an exercise that's actually easier to push to failure. Um, Maybe, yeah, I would say just in general, exercises like, let me think of another one. Yeah, I can't really think of another one. I would say by far, rows are by far the easiest exercise I do in my training routine. The easiest exercise that I've that I take to failure. Taking rows to failure is by far the easiest exercise, and I take to failure in my whole training routine. It isn't super difficult. The last rep isn't super slow, but every other exercise I perform, chin-ups, bicep curls, dips, cable lateral raises, single arm pushdowns. The last rep on those exercises is always super slow, and it's a super grind. It takes me so much to complete the last rep, and that's what makes them so difficult. So yeah, it's easier in general to go to failure on isolation exercises than it is on to take big compounds to failure. Like I said, the hardest exercises that I do with my training routine are the big compounds, the weighted dips, the weighted chin ups, the zombie squats. Those exercises are so difficult, and at the end of a set of dips, I'm so mentally and physically tired because I have to actually push myself so hard to go to failure on dips and chin ups and zombie squats. Those exercises are so difficult, but exercises that really focus on just one muscle group, isolation exercises, bicep curls, for example. Bicep curls is still very difficult to take to failure. The last rep is very slow. My biceps really burn on the last rep, but just I just feel that on my central nervous system, on my nervous system, it is easier to take bicep curls to failure. When it comes to just the pure agony and pain in my muscles, it's similar to dips and chin ups. But I just feel like my brain is weirdly fried after a difficult set of a big compound exercise in comparison an isolation exercise. An isolation exercise at the end of the set, my muscles hurt a lot. And the last rep was it was a crazy grind. But I don't really feel like my brain is that weird feeling of my brain being tired and fried. That's kind of different. And the last thing I want to talk about is if you're never scared before a set, before a working set, before a set that you know you will take to failure, before a difficult set, then you're probably not training for failure. Like I said, I'm always terrified before a set of weighted dips or weighted chin-ups or zombie squats. And even on other exercises, I'm still kind of scared before going into it because I know I take every single set to failure. I take every single set I do to failure. And that's scary. That actually scares me. So if you never, it's not like I hate, it's not like I hate the exercise I perform. I really enjoy the exercises that I perform that are in my training routine. But still, I need discipline every single day to take all those exercises to failure. So if you never need discipline, if you're never scared, if you never wish to just go home before a difficult set, then you're probably not training hard enough. There were periods where I was never really scared before my sets. I just thought to myself, yeah, I've been training for a while. It's probably that I just enjoyed training too much. But even if you love training, trust me, I love training. I fucking love training. But I'm always scared before a workout, before a difficult workout. I'm always scared before a set of a compound exercise. Even on isolation exercise, but there I'm less scared before a set of a small isolation exercise than I am before a set of a big compound. Or an exercise that I'm going to do today is deficit Bulgarian split squat. So Bulgarian split squat, but with my legs elevated, my front leg elevated for a deeper range of motion. And that exercise, even though it's an isolation exercise, it's so painful. It's honestly so painful. But I still do it. But I'm always so scared before a set of deficit Bulgarian split squats. Same thing with zombie squats. So if you're never terrified before a set, then you're probably not training hard enough. So yeah, I hope you found this video valuable. If you're interested in my fitness coaching, then you can click the first link in the description. And yeah, don't worry if it's compared. Chase it.